good. We're going to call this meeting to order. Everyone, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for coming in this evening. Gonna right out the gate. 6 o'clock is gonna be like a hard stop time, so we can get set up over at Messina for the public hearing. Other than that, we're gonna continue our discussion on the River Road weight limits. Our DPW director, Peter Somro, is gonna chat with us about a couple things, and we might get into some other subjects. Time prohibitive. So with that, we'll get right into our River Road discussion. You guys have a chance to take a ride down River Road and take a look at the road conditions and you know, see some of the pictures
Peter
and
and
things
I
that
did. We did it together. I think it was a couple days after maybe we had last time. So.
May I ask, did you have an opportunity to see the photos and videos that were sent to the town hall for you to look at?
Yes, I did.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so when we did our ride, there was a big area right in Bank Village where the pavement is popped up on the corner. Peter said that it's an ongoing issue from plows.
Mm-hmm.
From what just the visual assessment, it looks like Peter Goey was right. The road can handle truck traffic.
Mm-hmm.
There was no visible damage done either on the causeway or the whole stretch of the road that we could see.
Mm-hmm. Had a similar experience riding down River Road. You know, just noticed where there's some wear and tear was, but a section like going down the hill had been replaced at some point. You know, because that must have got decayed. You know, ahead of the decision to lift the weight restrictions on the road. So that just seems like a maintenance issue. Lou, how do you feel with the wear and
I
tear
don't
aspect?
know. Yeah, exactly what he saw also. The only on the picture, did you send the pictures? Email?
Sharon sent
Okay.
the volume of
There was
pictures.
something about a set of tracks off on the grass.
That might have been Rob or Anne Marie that sent those. I'm not privy to all of those. I didn't look at them. They just said they sent them. But
Oh, okay. But it didn't seem like it was actually coming off the road or something, so I didn't know what the purpose of that picture was.
Yeah, sorry, I can't account for every single one.
Okay.
Rob did mention, though, if I may,
Yes. Yep.
that majority of the damage that he had seen, and I wish he was here because I'm speaking for him, but that is at the end, if you're coming from Ashburnham, you're coming all the way down to River Road, that there is significant damage. Here it is, damage to the beginning or end of the road. It depends on where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
That's in front of the White Farm. They have the horses. It's in that area all along the road.
Okay.
It's not just, though, I do want to emphasize, if I may, it is not just the damage that we perceive that's to the road. It's to the, as a residential road, it's to the harmony, the peacefulness. It's a throughway for anyone who wants to drive down there with anything. And I think that was the point of some of the pictures that you received. It wasn't necessary. One day, Sharon said she saw 17, but she thought it was twice that amount. Just repeated traffic. It's I don't know how many residential roads in town receive that kind of traffic, and it's just plain dangerous.
And it is that aspect. Like, I took an opportunity to take another run down it and back before coming into the meeting this evening, because of all the decisions that we make in this room, like ones that impact our community members directly, like their peaceful enjoyment of their property, and having to weigh out commerce versus what an area could or should be used for and how it could be enjoyed, is one that doesn't sit with me lightly. So just sort of torn on this quite a bit, with wanting to not have additional burden on commerce and the people that work locally, and every time is money, so it makes sense to be able to get to different points in the fastest way possible, but then at the same time what's the negative impacts to that.
Well, if you're gonna
and I have seen I travel that road quite frequently, and it is heavily walked and run and enjoyed by our community members in various different ways. People stop right on the banks to put their kayaks in, and
Fish.
at all different points on River Road. And then you come down deeper into Bank Village, and then coming down the hill to 124, just how tight that area is, and imagining tractor trailers coming through there, and they clearly do, because we see them, saw them in the videos, and all the heavy trucks.
Yeah, if I may chime in, Jim Parody, 32 River Road. We have a 2-year-old, and we live right on the road, and our biggest concern is winter. All the roads, of course, get narrower no matter how good plowing is, right? It's gotta go somewhere. We have to walk in the road because we have an old house that's on the road to get to our garage. And, he's gonna be 16 before I allow him to not, for me not to carry him. I'm always worried with my wife, taking him for a walk. The trucks don't, and this isn't just trucks, this is also cars, they don't tend to move over. It's a danger thing
The
for.
road is thin there too.
Yeah, it is, and like I said, wintertime it's thinner,
It is.
yeah, I mean, it's precarious, to say the least. Like I said, with a 2-year-old who's, a wiggling bag of cement, I hold on to him like for dear life, to be honest. We wait in our walkway often in the winter, because we have to walk right on the gravel, to get to our garage, and we're waiting till no cars, like we don't even see headlights or anything, because people don't tend to pay attention, obey the speed limits, or even move over sometimes.
Which kind of brings me to my next point, that I wouldn't be opposed to holding a public hearing on this, like to kind of cast a bigger light on this subject, and call out the people that could want to speak on this, for and against it, and potentially make a decision then, because I don't believe any of our truckers came in or like to weigh in on the subject, and in order to create or adopt an ordinance, we should have a public hearing. We don't need to, but it's the best cause. They're the best practice to do such. So I didn't know what your motivation was, Lou and Jason, like if that's
I
a
don't
viable
s-
option, or.
I don't see a need for it. I think if you look at the RSA's regarding public roads, they say pretty clearly that they're only in extreme cases are they to be restricted, any type of traffic. The courts, and this is a hard road to travel, and they quote a court finding saying that relief from highway congestion may not be accomplished by unfair discriminatory measures. While the use of the highways is a privilege, the privilege may not be granted arbitrarily and be bestowed at will and pleasure as a favor to some group of travelers, while imposing a deprivation of use upon others. Permission of highway use for local business, while such use for other trucks and job teams is thus restricted. Displays a disregard, if not a defiance, of the principle of constitutional equality. So for me, I go back to why do we have roads? I think the state makes it clear the primary purpose for roads. Would you agree?
Well, yeah, for them to be open for use, right? Is that what you're getting at?
Primarily for
Yeah.
commerce,
Yeah,
right? Because
Yeah, but that, you have to also weigh in, and I didn't hear anything in that quote about population density. And once you have some density of population, where the houses are a little bit closer together, or it's a community similar to what's over there, then commercial traffic really doesn't have a place in there.
you don't find that to be the case in most places.
I beg to differ with that.
It's just go to any city. There's
Oh, I have
trucks
been in
all
lots of
through the cities.
Tons of places that restrict truck traffic. You see it all over the place.
Like
Towns in Massachusetts, towns around here.
the whole town restricts it?
There are restricted roads in town, and that also uses the word highway as well,
Right.
not byways and back roads.
Well, I
So
think
I
they
can
would
see
all
the
be
point with a highway,
they would all be considered like class
And-
5 roads,
and-
right?
and I can see that on a state road, but this is a town road, not a state road. You're quoting state statute.
Yeah, well, this was actually an opinion by the court that
Again,
said
on
that.
state roads, it uses the word state road and highway.
And according to the state, highway is any road,
Any road.
as long as it's not a private road. I don't know why, I always thought that was weird,
So
but,
why do they build bypasses? If the judge says you shouldn't do that, I mean, you can't. They want the trucks to go around Milford, they don't want them to go through Milford. They built
No,
the
I know.
bypass, spent a lot of money to keep them out of the downtown area.
right,
Hmm.
I know.
So
Yeah,
that's
that's-
kind of ambiguous from what he just read to me.
So then the RSA itself, I'll just read the last part of it. The general court urges municipalities to exercise this authority, and this is talking about using weight restrictions. To exercise this authority in ways that do not unreasonably infringe on the efficient movement of unprocessed natural resources, manufactured goods, and other commercial products essential to a healthy state economy. So,
I would argue, and I understand your point, but what's happening to that road is it's a convenience for people to get somewhere maybe 30 seconds to a minute earlier. We're talking about, if you looked at those pictures, we're not talking about cars, we're talking about large excavating vehicles that contain, I don't know, I'm not gonna put a weight on it, but it's a hell of a lot of sand and dirt. And they take up, they don't take up 6 feet. They're 8 feet, maybe, you wanna give them some distance. So you move out of their way. And if it means literally moving out of the way and walking in the woods along the road, you do it for your life, for your own personal safety. And I think all of us, you have the majority of Bank Village residents here. And they're all saying the same thing. When these vehicles go by, you can hear them, got it, but when they're close to you, there's a rumble. I don't know.
We know without looking whether there's a truck coming or not,
We
from
can do it.
inside the house.
mhm. Yes,
Hi. Well, there was a sign on the road, weight limit and no through trucks, and it's gone. It was gone 2 years ago. Due to one person coming here to say that he couldn't travel to his home. Well, you can go down Ashby Road, you can go take a right, go down Mason Road to get out to Turnpike. We're asking for River Road to be protected for us and for the town and our taxes. So I don't think we're going to inconvenience any of these truckers. They're mostly out of town. They're coming from a sand pit on Ashburnham Road. It's 3 trucks that I see constantly. They go up and down. There's one truck going up, the other one coming down. I know the names of them. You know, the trucks that are in town on our road are Shaw's. We have Mallet at the end of the road. He has the right. He lives there. Shaw, well, he's kind of, you know, not too far from us. I don't see why we can't divert traffic down Ashby Road or other roads to get to Turnpike.
So what about the residents of Ashby Road then?
Well, it is a state highway, and
For
they bought those
Part
houses.
of it is,
I also think it
part of
goes
it is.
beyond just the residents of Bank Village. You mentioned kayakers. It's a very scenic drive. It's, you know,
It's
the
anti-home.
cross-country team from the high school use that path every single day.
In the elementary school.
Yep, right, if they're up there. I mean, it's beyond even just residents. Horses,
Well, cross-country runs that on the winter too, so it's not
It
just the
scares me.
spring, yeah,
oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
we saw them up there yesterday.
yeah.
Baby carriages,
Yeah.
there's new people that have moved into town that have never seen.
We have horseback rider now. Girl goes up and down the
So
road every day.
just a correction, this was not one person who came to the meeting and
The
had
minute
that.
said it was.
It was not one person who came to the meeting and had it changed. It was after conversation with the DPW director and with the police chief. So
Okay.
what, the other aspect of this is how much more danger does a dump truck pose than a car?
A lot more.
They weigh a lot.
Stop.
How about it, what if we
Going
change
down
this
towards
and do it
1.4.
to an electric car? Who's more dangerous?
An electric car stops just as quick as any other car.
But you
And
can't hear them.
a lot-
I've been very much taken by surprise, because I walk every day on New Ipswich roads as well. And I think once in the last 15 years, I've had to jump in a ditch. Perhaps I live on a very peaceful area and I don't know, but yeah. So there is something in this hard road to travel. It says there's 2 reasons that we can give load limits. One is excessive wear on the road. The other is public safety. So there is the ability to use it in that way, but I question, where do we stop it then? Because who wouldn't love to have a road where you can let your kids go play basketball on it?
We're not asking for
I'm not
that.
asking for that. I want to safely
I
carry my
understand
child
that.
from my house to my garage and not worry about having to jump out of the way. I mean,
And it
you know,
doesn't
like you
Talking
said,
about
like,
these
Sir.
trucks.
We talked about safety, you know, for the last 25 minutes. Heavy wear and tear on the road, including the causeway. Jim brought it up last meeting about the wear and tear of the weight on the causeway is gonna cause deterioration there to the point where it's gonna have to replace the causeway.
Yeah.
And the town is responsible for the causeway. It's not a state or federal thing. If that goes to shit, we're responsible. So you're talking about heavy wear and tear, this is maximum with those heavy loads going up and down
Right.
that road.
We could go back and forth about this all night, because definitely differing opinions.
Does the
On this.
DPW director feel as though tractor trailers full of stone and sand, that road's no problem for it?
With
Well,
Peter,
'cause Because the guy from the state that I was out there years ago with said, get these trucks off the road. That's wearing your road out prematurely. So I don't,
Yeah.
you know, I just wonder, maybe a dump truck, but when they come down there with those tractor trailers full, and they have an awful time stopping.
Yeah.
They just Googled a list of towns with weight restrictions. There's quite a few, there's Ware, Nottingham, Hopkinton, Deering, Concord, Lebanon, Lincoln.
Which I can appreciate, and not to stop you short, because I know there's
Yeah.
More and more and more.
Yeah, it's just
But
the
that's
first
not
page.
really what we're weighing out.
Yeah.
We're weighing out if it's right for that section of our
Sure.
community.
Well, they said how many
Yeah,
for
I
towns.
understand.
and There's a
I
long list.
think we've all seen weight restrictions on the roads.
Yeah, so it's definitely not unusual.
Yep.
Yeah.
Peter, what's your feelings on it? Like, cause
What I saw was
I guess
just
it
normal
was
wear
the town.
and tear on there. So my feeling is it it's handling the traffic just fine, the way it is.
yeah.
If, you know, Sharon and I were talking about this earlier tonight, and one of the things that she said to me was, if there's not, and I wrote it down because it was a very telling quote, if there's nothing to prohibit, there's everything. So you don't restrict, everything can go on down there. And you mentioned safety and wear and tear, and those are our concerns.
Mm-hmm.
I 5 years ago, I came before the Selectmen and shared with that group that my biggest concern was I traveled many places, and I'm afraid that one day I'm going to get killed in front of my own home. So this is a long-term issue that we're talking about, that all the residents now are bringing to you that they've got a concern.
Mm-hmm.
We just want the
That's
sign
more
back.
that safety aspect, that
Yeah.
weighs in my head.
Mhm.
We want the sign back.
Yeah.
Please help us.
I understand that.
And it's compounded by us not being able to have a very big police department. I mean, he's always scrambling for help every time I turn around, somebody else is leaving. So they don't have the time to be down there enforcing speed limits.
Mm.
You get down there at 8 o'clock in the morning, the high school kids are doing 45 to 50 miles an hour down that
2
road.
o'clock too.
Yeah.
And, I guess at 2 o'clock, but, I mean,
Generally, it's all day.
it's a hard thing to do. I mean, where do you get the manpower to do that? And
That's up for discussion at 7.
Yeah.
Right, over at Messina.
Come on down.
Come on down.
So are you flatly opposed to holding a
To a
public
public
hearing?
hearing?
Yeah. What are your feelings on the public hearing?
I think as a last ditch effort, if you're not happy with what you think is going on here, is that you should get together and create a warrant article to be put into the next election.
But there was a sign on the road.
You're absolutely
Yeah,
right, there was.
So do an
There
ordinance.
was a decision made back then, what was it, 2 years ago?
Public hearing too.
It was, it's in your,
Yeah, both of them
it was in
minutes.
your.
It's in the minutes, yeah, I just got these minutes here 20 minutes ago.
They were in the Dropbox also.
You're not gonna do it.
Oh, really?
Um,
Okay.
I know I'm
Anyway,
asking for every time.
but like I said, if you're not happy
Very
with,
frustrating.
what
Well, the
decision-
question right now though is like, do you feel like you'd want to hold a public hearing, in regards to this and potentially adopt that ordinance that restricts the weight limits on River Road?
I think that's a fair assessment, yes.
Mm.
Again,
Another
Yeah.
hearing.
Well, and that's what happens, like if, different boards with different motivations and people come to us at different points for things. I don't wanna create an aspect of necessarily, flip-flopping on things, but, going back and reviewing a decision that, had been made, a few years ago, I think is worthwhile. Cause we did, we heard from, that commerce end of things, heavily and didn't really get like the weigh in from the community, and now here we are, a few years out from that decision and, hearing that there's issues, so.
Well, I think part of that too is the safety concerns weren't there until they were allowed to, until it was happening.
Yep. Yep.
So, I mean,
I would like to know how a dump truck is more dangerous than a car.
Oh, come on.
Yes.
All right. Well,
No, not like that.
If I could,
A full
like
dump
just
truck
A
yeah.
full dump truck that
takes a
cannot
lot
stop.
of time to stop,
Well, and the width,
plus the
you
width.
know,
of
when you
the
get
full
snow
dump
time, the
road.
roads do narrow.
You see where you come onto River Road from the mill?
From Turnpike.
You're off the road when you meet a truck. It's happened to me.
Even a car sometimes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you
Just
have to
saying.
put your tires off the road
Trucks
or else they
take
hit.
that whole
I was a
section.
truck driver. If I had a full load, I had twice the distance to stop.
Or more.
Make sure that I had twice the distance.
You have to be looking, and they don't look.
If you got a full load, you
So then, my next question would be, how many incidents have we had over the past 3 years
Yeah,
with
personally,
trucks?
Me too.
What's that?
personally passed a dump truck. And like I said, if I had been a few seconds earlier, there would have been no room for me to pass by. I mean, you said it yourself, a car barely makes it pass. So if I had a couple seconds earlier, a couple seconds closer to that corner, who knows what would happen. So it's definitely, I mean, plausible. Surprised it hasn't happened
Well,
yet.
and that's
Shocked
what
it hasn't
I'd hate to, have that policy of waiting for an issue to happen. Like if something, as a parent, that there's a high likelihood, like to act ahead of time.
And that was
So
also.
if I could just, so a lot of this discussion I'd like to have, at a date in the future. Debbie, is there any Tuesday evenings that we should stay away from?
Just next Tuesday, well, wait, you wanna do a public hearing, like notice it in the newspaper and all that?
Yeah.
No, just next week, which wouldn't give us time to notice it anyway, so.
Yeah.
21st, 28th, well, 21st is Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so we probably do
28.
28. Yeah. Let me make a motion to hold a public hearing regarding imposing vehicle weight restrictions on River Road on November 28th at 7 p.m. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Alright,
We're just gonna put everybody on the road.
November 28th, 7 p.m.
That's all.
Will you have someone from the police department here as well that can maybe, weigh in and,
We can ask, yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna have a public hearing, let's get the right, if I may, let's get some of the right folks in here
Yeah.
so that we can have a good, thorough discussion. Because River Road is just one of the roads that was, the weight restrictions were taken off of.
Yeah.
So it may not be just River Road.
Well, we haven't
It
heard
has
from the
some-
other residents.
We're just worried about River Road.
Yeah.
That's it.
Alright, so thank you guys for coming in this evening, and I
Okay.
look forward to having further discussion on the 28th.
And feel free to join us up at Messina at 7 o'clock for a public hearing.
There was a tire fire right on the causeway, and
There's
now
water
there's
fountains, I
the
believe.
remains of the
I
tire
think
on
I've
the
been to
side
this
of the
one
road,
before.
and
Any
I know
other
when the
place
plows
in the
come,
woods.
they're gonna knock it into the water. And
Yeah.
I'm concerned,
Thank you.
could you just have
Yeah,
someone come
thank you
and
for the
take it
info.
away?
Yeah.
It's a mess, there's like water.
And thanks for listening to us.
Thank you.
Yep.
It is appreciated.
Maybe you should see.
Take care. Thank you.
Alright, so if
Thank
you're
you
not.
for your time.
Yeah.
Take
Have a
care,
good night.
thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in. So a couple things, not to like kind of jump out of order, but they're time sensitive. Walker Ferry from the ZBA reached out to me about appointing an alternate.
Michelle?
Yeah, his candidate was Michelle Sari. So I didn't know if you guys wanted, he was hoping to have her available for next Thursday evening, so we do have one select board meeting in between. If you guys would like to have an opportunity to find out more about it. Sorry, Michelle Sari. Yeah. Lou, I believe she's been at a couple meetings.
Okay.
Yes.
So do you have any insight for us and how she's interacted? Or?
If Walker approves of her, by all means, yeah.
Yeah. Jason, would you have any concerns with appointing her this evening so that she can come in and?
Is that Carlene's though?
Yep. Oh, it is?
Yep.
Oh.
No, I wouldn't.
Carlene's related to everybody, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I say to her all the time. Is there anyone you're not related to?
So I'll make a motion to appoint Michelle Sari as an alternate to the ZBA. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Then also, Conservation Commission reached out about some appointments. They actually asked about having people sworn in at tomorrow evening's meeting. But I'm gonna chat with them instead about finding out who it is that they would like appointed, so that I can bring forward the names and, a little bit of information about them to the board, because that wasn't time sensitive, but I just wanted to let you guys know.
And that meeting's tomorrow?
Tomorrow evening, yeah.
Okay.
So did you say you're going to that?
Yeah, I'm gonna go just chat with them about the appointments that they're looking for, like to that, because there wasn't anybody listed. It was just asking about going to swear people in, but it's not that simple. We gotta, appoint them from here, and then they get sworn in.
From
You could
here.
Yeah.
They're not just re-upping their oath.
No, I
It's
don't
new
believe so.
people.
There are not very many details. But like I said, he said it was fine if it didn't happen tomorrow night, and that they could just deal with it at next month's meeting. So that gives us a few meetings in between to discuss the appointments. And then Gary Somro has found 3 new generators at no cost. From my understanding, they're all 30Ks, like the bigger generators.
No cost.
Yeah, it's just
No
a
cost.
surplus that they had down. I don't know all the details, but it must be some type of government surplus that he became aware of. The original generator that he was after and applied for, someone grabbed sooner because it was one of those highway ones, I think, with the lights on it. So somebody got down there real quick and got that. But you just got the paperwork for those other 3 today. And I don't know if you had any additional details, Debbie, on
No,
that.
I called the mental block, the company.
With the other generators?
Yeah, for the other, that gave us the quote on the other ones, and he hasn't called me back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wanted to see if we could cancel the generators and still have them do the electrical work.
Yep.
Since we don't have to pay for the generators themselves, we can just
Be a
use
huge
the
savings
power.
all the way
Yeah.
around.
Are they
Huge.
2-phase or 3-phase?
I know
Single
at least
phase.
one is 3-phase.
These are all 3-phase?
At least one is 3-phase.
At least one is 3-phase.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's working on that and working on getting more details. All this just really, what was it, Friday? There was like a flurry activity, or Thursday from him about this. So I'm not sure like exactly what the whole thing is, but
Yeah, I
Because
just heard
we
this
need
morning.
3-phase for both the firehouse
DPW.
and DPW?
yeah.
Or is the firehouse single phase?
So right now it's 3-phase, but they were talking about getting a new something so they wouldn't need the 3-phase, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, a transformer
Yeah.
will do it.
Was
No, it
a
was the
compressor.
clothes dryer or a compressor or
I
something.
think it was
Yeah, for the air.
Scooter compressor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good news at any rate. It's huge
Oh, yeah.
savings to us. And he said that there weren't any restrictions on them, and so that, I imagine that means we could give them to another community if we don't have any use for them.
Are they propane or fuel, do we know?
I don't know all the details, Lou. Yeah. Generators. Oh, and that fire engine that some community members were looking to possibly donate. I got an update on that. It passed the oil test because they had to send the oil out for testing, and I believe some other type of fluid, but it passed all those tests just fine. So it looks like it's in good health that way. And just to fix some of the cosmetic stuff, it's about 30,000. I think we talked about that before, and then around 150 in order to put all the equipment that they would like to have on it and totally refurbish it, so it's set up for the next 10 or 15 years of use for us. So that's kind of interesting, but another scenario that we're going to really have to look at, like how to navigate through. Do you take the donation ahead of the warrant so that we can put a warrant article out, like to see if people would like to, invest the money into that truck, versus having to buy a new one at $750,000 or
More,
yeah.
more than that.
Is this the same kind of truck we currently have, meaning in use, or is it
Yes.
something like a ladder truck to add to?
No, it's similar to what we have in use right now.
Okay, so are we going to have two, or are we going?
That other one's going to be retired.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's at the end of its useful life. Squeezed every last bit out of her, from what I understand.
Right.
Yeah. So as more things happen with that, I'll certainly bring them with you guys, and when we need to discuss how we want to handle the whole scenario. And that's all I had for my quick ads. Anybody else have anything time sensitive they had to get in this week? Jason?
The quotes for the pool house roofing
Yeah.
job. I got 3 quotes right here. Actually, yeah, there you go.
Ooh, sorry. Thank you.
The top one I got emailed me today on it, and it's a quote for both roofs, so that's why it's got a different number on there. Cause he sent me the same quote over, he's like, oh no, so that's why that one's like that. And then, Prime Roofing and, Superior.
So you're thinking about going with shingles rather than a metal roof?
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot cheaper.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, yep.
And this is just for which?
The pool house,
Is that filter or bath?
Back.
the bathhouse. Yeah,
So that's 19,000.
yes, yeah. From Adam,
Prime was 10.
yes. And Superior is, I think that was what was that one? Was that 14, I think? Let's see, what do I have?
13,050.
Okay, 13,050, yeah.
I'm sorry, what's 13,050?
The last
From
quote from Superior.
Superior.
Oh, Superior.
Did any of these, did you ask any of them if they had a time frame of when they could do it?
Yeah, basically it would be within,
This year.
yeah, well, before winter, within a few weeks or so.
All of them can do it this winter? Okay.
Yeah.
And Prime Roofing is 10,038.
Yes. Yeah.
Alright, just so I'm clear, these are all just the main pool house
Yes.
and not the pump house.
Not the filter house.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
And why did the Valancourt one said filter and bathhouse? Is the filter in the
Because-
bathhouse?
Yeah, because that was the original quote that I had gotten from him, and then I asked him just for the pool house, and he sent me that one, and accidentally, not the one that's for just the pool house.
Okay.
So that's why. So and then also on his quote there too, this is all information that's kind of wrong, as in installing the PVC shadow board and fascia and all that stuff, where we're just looking to just replace the shingles and the drip edge, and when they go to take off the old shingles, if there's any plywood that needs to be replaced as well.
Yeah.
You know, so this one here from Adams is not correct. The amount is correct, but what they would be doing is not right because he sent me the wrong one.
Yeah.
And I caught it, and he was out on the road, and he just wasn't able to get it to me soon enough.
So his original quote was 28,000.
Yes.
For both roofs,
Yes, yeah, for both of them.
filter
And that would be what all this stuff from 1 to 13 are saying that they would be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
No, Top Dog's not open.
Oh, no.
It's Tuesday, right?
Right.
I don't know.
Sorry about that.
Is that right?
Someone looking for the town clerk.
Oh. Alright.
So what are your thoughts on shingling over a layer?
No, hasn't been for a few years. They're open on
I mean,
Thursday
the
night
roof's in
until 6.
decent shape, like it's not
All right.
excessively, moldy, or I imagine they must power wash off any areas that are bad.
I know it can be a controversial subject with roofers.
Yeah.
It seems like with the new underlayment roll-on, they have the synthetic underlayment.
Mm-hmm.
Put a little bit of a barrier between them two,
Yeah.
so that whether it was organic shingles and now non-organic, or the different arguments that come up.
They did put it as an option.
Only one company I see.
Yeah.
The big concern that we had talked about by not taking shingles up is those are very, very old. And the likelihood of there being no damage to the the base is,
The plywood.
there's gonna be replacement needed, especially when we get to the filter house, obviously.
Yeah, that's
But
gonna be.
for the pool house, it's really rugged, and even if you power wash it and then you shingle over it, we don't know what's underneath and if there needs replacement, and I feel like spending that much money already to then possibly have, a big heavy couple years of snow, ice, those things, and then those little things that we should have fixed when we redid the roof start seeping in, and we now have leaks again, like we are in the filter house, which
Yeah, we're talking about the pool house right
I know,
now,
but
not the
that's
filter
my
house.
point, is
Yeah.
that now that one has it, are those ones a year or two away? And just because we're putting something over it, that doesn't mean that there isn't rot, mold, something that's building
It
underneath.
is all accessible from below, I believe. It's got a drop ceiling. We popped open a tile and looked, and I think you'd be able
I
to
think there was
spot.
one spot too that had that piece of shingle missing out of there, which I don't know if that's leaking or not in that one section, but.
Yeah, definitely. We don't want to cover up. That's not at all what I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
No more.
You would want to make sure that there's no rot.
Yeah,
But if there wasn't
wasn't
rot-
assuming that you meant that either. It was more just like, if we're gonna go through it, I think it would probably be best to go and make sure everything is like, good.
Well,
Yeah.
sometimes there's value to not tearing things open that don't need to be torn open too.
Mhm.
'Cause
I agree.
I've seen roofs that are in worse condition, that are pretty difficult to strip just because, the older shingles actually had the adhesives on the back and it's stuck right to the plywood or the decking that's there, and
Mhm.
I asked myself, why the heck are we stripping this? We should have just left it. Cause really, unless there's soft spots, which they'd be able to tell from walking it, there's no reason not to go over it. Especially now, like you had said, they have that synthetic membranes that are a lot better, than the tar papers were.
So could we leave that open for discretion, if they start walking it after we get that far, they walk it, there's soft spots, they can take up the
Well, all the quotes have a contingency in here for replacing any
Right.
rotten sheeting.
Yeah, I just didn't want it to be like a firm, we're doing it over it, and then something kind of be there and it's a little wonky, and then but we have to stay true to, you know, what's voted on, obviously. I just wanna make sure that we can kind of keep it a contingent if they find a soft spot, if they find something that looks like it could leak, like he was saying that we don't know if it could leak because there is that
Well, we
part
could-
missing.
Peter, we could go tomorrow and look, couldn't we? From what I saw in there, we could pop a few of them tiles off, crawl up there. You wouldn't even have to crawl up. Just check out the eaves.
So, as far as the funding source,
I spoke with, because my concern for using capital reserve money, was that they would say no, and we'd have to pay out of like a revolving fund, which there's a lot of issues right with that right now with pool and rec money. We don't have money in government buildings to do this work, which is fine. I spoke with Shauna, she's said today even, she's completely comfortable with Peter and I having, you know, a say where the money's coming from, which would be primarily pool, but rec, we'd like to use capital reserve, and I spoke with Benty Lightly today, and he said that makes perfect sense to use a capital reserve money. Pool and rec have adequate money in that those are funds to cover any of these costs. Rec would obviously pay a small portion just because we only have 2 storage bays, and the pool house is obviously the majority of that roof. And again, Shauna said using her, you know, good discretion, she was fine with capital reserve funds from pool being used for this. And I also feel quite comfortable with the percentage we'd pay for rec to do that. And I don't think that it would be, I don't think where it literally is fixing up repairing a building, which is kind of what capital reserve is for, is to kind of maintain and fix things. So I'm comfortable saying
What's the
capital reserve.
percentage?
I think probably, rec would probably end up paying about a third to a quarter to a third of that, and then pool would cover the rest. Again, we just have those 2 bays and that's it on that building. I think on the other building it's another conversation,
Yeah.
for sure, but
I'm just talking about
yeah.
this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
alright. So Prime's got the lowest bid by far, than the other 2. It seems like it's pretty apples to apples, and understanding like what the original number and, you know, some of the detail was on the Valancourt one, helped, but that was their number for just the pool house, so. it was
Yeah,
19.
with just replacement and not doing any of the quoted things that are on here.
Yep.
You know, just
Mm.
apples to apples with the other 2 with ripping off and replacing.
How do you gentlemen feel about the 3 different quotes?
Yeah, well, you hit it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Is
just the
there
way
anything
it
that makes you
is.
stand out from the other 2 that would stop us from going ahead with Prime, Lou?
Not at all.